Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're sitting in a 2016 Kia Optima with a pretty strong misfire. A little backstory on this vehicle is about a year ago, just over a year ago, they had all the valves replaced at the dealership. They did whatever diagnostic they did back then, came to the conclusion that it needed valves, so they put in new valves. No problem, it fixed the issue, and the car's been running fine ever since. Well, a couple weeks ago, they got this misfire, so they took it back to the dealer. Unfortunately, they are just outside of their 1-year dealership warranty from the last repair, and they said cylinder number 4 is misfiring, you need new valves again. So that's why we're here, just to double check, kind of like a second opinion type diagnostic, but we're gonna put all the dealership stuff on the back burner, just push it to the side at the moment. We're just going to start diagnosing this as a standard misfire. So we're gonna treat this just like any other misfire diagnosis that we would run through. So we're gonna run through that process. If you're working on a vehicle like this, or this is your year, make, and model, then you'll know how to proceed with diagnosing this issue. Now, I haven't looked at it yet, so we're gonna be looking at this for the first time together. All right, let's get to it. The mileage is a little fuzzy, but we're just at 100,960. So just cresting over the 100,000 mile mark. All right, we are in the engine computer, so we're just gonna read fault codes and a P0304, so cylinder number 4 misfire. Now let's go ahead and start it up, confirm the misfire, and we'll also confirm that it is cylinder number 4 and not another cylinder. Okay, so what we have selected on the scan tool is cylinder number 1 misfire, 2, 3, and 4 misfires. So this is the misfire counter. Let's go ahead and try to start it. There we go, got it started. You can see right away cylinder number 4 is climbing with our misfires. So this is a dead miss. It's not missing every once in a while, it's a solid misfire. Let's go under the hood real quick. Hopefully the camera can pick it up shaking. If you were here with me, you would see it's definitely shaking all over the place. That's because we're only running on 3 cylinders. And then here in the exhaust, you can hear it. Put, 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 put. So now let's go ahead and confirm that it's cylinder number 4. When we pull off the electrical connector for the ignition coil, if the cylinder is contributing, when we disconnect the coil, it'll run even worse. See that? Because now it's only running on 2 cylinders. Plug it back in, it starts running better. Now we're back to running on 3 cylinders. Do that with this one. This is cylinder number 1. See, even worse. We already checked 2. This is cylinder number 3. Even worse. And then number 4 was what the engine computer was saying was wrong. Pop that off. And you see no change. So whether that is plugged in or not, there's no change in how the engine runs. So that is our dead cylinder. All right, so we definitely have a misfire, and we've confirmed that it's cylinder number 4. What's our next step? Now, I have special equipment that we can attack the valves right away, because that's what the dealer said it needed. But what if we didn't have that privileged information? What if we're the first ones looking at this? How might we proceed? So remember your facts: fuel, air, compression, timing, spark. Your engine needs all these things in order to run properly. Out of all these things, what could it be? Remember, this is a single cylinder misfire, so if we think it's fuel related, it can't be the fuel pump, because that would affect all the cylinders. So if it's fuel related, it could be a fuel injector, either clogged or not turning on. These have individual coil packs for the ignition, so if we're thinking spark, then we want to check the ignition coil, the spark plug, and the computer's feed electrically into the coil. We can probably rule out timing, because typically a timing issue, again, will affect all the cylinders. We only have a problem on 1. So as we process in our minds the facts, the fuel, air, compression, timing, spark, we want to think about what would affect just 1 single cylinder. The easiest thing to check up front is the ignition. Do we have spark? What we can do is pull off the ignition coil for cylinder number 4 and swap it with another one like cylinder number 1. We'll also take the spark plug out, swap it as well. If the problem now moves to cylinder number 1, we know our issue is either the ignition coil or the spark plug. So let's start with that. They're 10mm bolts holding these 2 coils in. We'll pull off the electrical connectors. We already got them disconnected. Set that aside. So this goes to number 4. pull this off real quick. This goes to number 1. Let's pull the spark plugs. Ah, check that out. That is crazy. So I just pulled the spark plug out. Can you see that? Let me take a picture of it with my phone. Look at that spark plug. I pulled this out of cylinder number 4. It's crazy. Let me get it to focus better. There we go. Look at that. Just blew up. Okay, so the spark plug is crazy. Now that we've seen this, we need to know, did that electrode break off and cause engine damage? So next, we're gonna do a compression test. Is this cylinder still sealing? Now, let's say that this crazy plug didn't happen. Let's say it looked normal, and we went ahead and swapped it. And let's say that it ran the same. We still have a misfire on cylinder number 4. So we've eliminated the coil and the plug. Let's just say that's what happened. We would still do a compression test next, because that's the next easiest thing in our facts to check. So ignition, at least on this engine, every engine could be a little different on what you tackle first, what you tackle second, but ignition is the easiest. Compression is also easy on this. So either way, our next move is compression. Now you can use a standard compression gauge like this, but for some reason my end is missing the Schrader valve. That's probably because I used this for something at one point, lost the Schrader valve, so that's not gonna help me, but that's the kind of gauge that you can use, and you're just checking cylinder number 4 against the other 3 cylinders. The other 3 are operating properly, so you can check all 3 against cylinder number 4 if you want, or just check cylinder number 4 against one other. So for me, I'm gonna have to hook up my lab scope with a pressure transducer. It'll accomplish the same thing as this gauge. We'll look at the waveform together, and we can analyze whether or not there's any other internal cylinder damage because of that spark plug. Well, I am tool deficient, so let me show you. See how skinny these spark plugs are? Super skinny. And my adapter is just a little too fat. Even if I were to use my pressure tester, this one is a little too fat. Oh, up a little higher. It's a little too fat to go in. So I don't have a way to get a compression reading. So what I'm gonna have to do is just go in the cylinder with a camera and get a visual inspection. So that's my next step. I'll go ahead and set up a camera. We'll get that borescope in there and I'll show you what I see. All right, got my camera set up. I will go ahead and share the screen. All right, we're gonna go directly in to cylinder number 4. Okay, we're in. I'm gonna turn the camera around. 360, what am I looking at? Okay, so the cylinder is already at top dead center. So what I have to do is crank the engine just a smidge. See if that was enough. So I think that liquid is a little fuel spray, which is good. The injector's working. So now let me see, did that help? Nope, it's still up at top dead center. Okay, so it just went down and back up. So let's try it again. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Oh, so look. Ah, you see that? That oil? Bummer. That's one valve. It's the other. Man, that's a lot of oil. I think it needs a new head. Yikes. Yeah, that's a lot of oil. Oh, dang. See that? Right there. Oh, that completes this diagnosis. Ah, that is the second sad diagnosis I've had today. The first one is a Ford Edge. You can watch the video there. Also needs a new engine as well. So I was thinking chicken and the egg, what happened first? The spark plug electrode broke off, bounced around and got stuck in between the cylinder head and the exhaust valve. And then as the exhaust valve closed, it snapped off the exhaust valve? Or did the exhaust valve break off for some reason, bounced around, hit the spark plug electrode, and then broke the spark plug? What came first? It's hard to say. But apparently these are new valves. So maybe there's a defect in one of the new valves, or maybe it really was the spark plug. It's hard to say which one, but because there is so much oil coming in to that cylinder, it makes me wonder if new valves is really all it needs. Because where can oil come from? Come from two places, either from the valve seals. So if a valve seal was damaged or something happened there, it can get in through the valve seal, or if the head is cracked somewhere and it's getting in through the crack. Now I couldn't see either one of those with the camera I was using, so it's hard to say. But what I'm gonna do is quote the customer for a new cylinder head, just get the whole thing new or remanufactured, and just take care of everything. Because if we only quote them for the valves, but it ends up needing a head, once we pull it off, we get a closer look at it, you know, that wouldn't be very nice to say, oh, by the way, now you need a head, now the price is gonna be this much. So anyway, that's just my reasoning for going with the whole head. Then it just takes care of all those birds with one stone. Now, there is something to note, is Kia has what's called an extended engine replacement program. Some of these engines have had known issues and they have an extended replacement program. This vehicle is on that. Now, I don't know if it's still covered because of the mileage. I'm not 100% sure, but something to consider if you've taken this to a shop first, or you've taken it to yourself and self-diagnosed it first. Go ahead, contact the service department of your local dealer and see if your VIN is covered and can be covered under a engine replacement, because that would be amazing if this customer got a new engine. Now, I do have a video here as well of a 2017, I believe, hybrid. It was a Hyundai. It had total engine failure, and happy to say that customer is getting a brand new engine from Hyundai under this same program. So you never know. Could work for you. But that is it for this diagnosis, and hopefully it just shows you how to attack any misfire. It could be either a fueling issue, air, compression, timing, spark. It could be one of those, so just pick the easiest one to check and think logically about what would only affect one cylinder and not the rest, and just follow the data. All right, well, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, see you on the next one.